But when people say that they know that this is their last lifetime and that they don't want to come back, what do you make of that? Like, how does that land for you?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that. And then I guess like something that comes to my mind on the other side where there's this, I guess long story short, there's this like deep trance like medium person who I like follow their work. Her name is April Crawford, and she channels like the being that she channels is like she named it Veronica, which is kind of funny. But like my uncle actually put me onto this, and
Oh,
so
wow.
I get like these. I know it's funny. We've like kind of connected on this kind of stuff. But I'm like on her newsletter and whatever, and I get her. People send her questions like "Dear Veronica," and then she goes into her trance and she channels this like she calls it like a being on like the causal plane or something. But anyway, like there was once a question that was like I don't know if it was a question or if it was just like the intro part where she just kind of has a message. And part of that message was like, once you have achieved like your human evolution, highest level, whatever, and you do move out of this physical realm, like usually it's at that point that you appreciate how like just like how amazing it is here. Like a lot of people think like, oh, it's so bad here in the earth realm in the 3D. It's like this demotion almost like something to be evolved out of basically. And like what this
Yeah.
thing was like, no, that's not the case at all. It's all about your perspective. And to me, like when people say something like that, there's like a tiny shift in perspective that needs to happen of like, but you are here right now. Like you might think maybe who am I to say like you have like some sort of intuition that this is your last life or whatever, like okay. But if you're trying, like you're wanting this to be your last life, you're wanting to evolve above, away from this realm, like think twice about that because there's actually a lot of like this realm is like we give it a really bad rap, but it's really amazing. Like this creation of like where we are right now and the growth and the evolvement that we're able to achieve here is really amazing. And like once you kind of enter this more like what he calls like a phase 2 perspective that like you are God and you're like on this big playground, this amusement park, things get really fun. Like
Yeah.
this realm is incredible. Think about all the different things you can do and all the different ways you can like play and have
Yeah.
fun. And
Yeah.
then like it kind of comes back again to this idea that I keep being reminded of by like my guides is like just be light, like be lighthearted. I know that things seem really bad here sometimes, but it's not like that. Like you need to like kind of bring your perspective above that and look at the big picture, which is what this book feels like, is like really looking at like the biggest of the big pictures and then reminding yourself that it's not that serious. It's really not that serious. Like just have fun. You're here to play and to be joyful and to achieve growth along the way. But like if your perspective is that like things are terrible here, I'm really high in my level of evolution and I'm going to be out of here soon, then like you're missing an opportunity to appreciate everything around you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the biggest piece is like, I don't know. I mean, that's just to learn to like see things for what they really are here, you know, which is like not as bad as we think they are.
Well, and it goes back to what you were saying of like, you made it all.
You made it.
So if you're living a life where your conclusion is, I hope I never come back here, then yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're in phase 1 of the script that you wrote for your soul's evolution. And like, it makes sense. I mean, I was suicidal multiple times during phase 1 of like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't get it. I don't know how to play this game because it doesn't freaking make sense. Everything's a reflection. Everything is moving around. Like as you seek it, it like is, oh my gosh, like it just doesn't, it's not real. You're trying to move things around in the physical and it just doesn't ever work out. And then you turn inward and you start moving things around in your inner world and like let that become a beautiful place that you love to be. And then the whole world is a beautiful place that you love to be. Like Dolores Cannon in her book, she says, like the aliens or whoever she's having channeled through whatever subject it was, I'm pretty sure it was extraterrestrial, told her that the Earth experiment, originally, the Earth was designed to be a paradise. That like, that's why we're here. This is paradise. This is like the closest thing that physically has ever come close to paradise. And she kind of goes on to talk about like the old Earth versus the new Earth. But one image that she says about the new Earth is that in the new Earth, everything sparkles. And have you ever walked out in the morning and there's like dew on everything, or a snow, or like even the grass sometimes like freaking catches the light just right and it looks like it's sparkling? Like all the time now I see the earth sparkling and I'm like, this is paradise. Right. This is like, we're in paradise. Take a big deep breath. This is paradise. And so, yeah, it's like, I didn't have all the depth that you were able to put to it. So I'm glad I asked, because all I could really feel was like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's ahead of me. That feels like it has resistance. Like if you don't like it and you don't want to come back, like you're having a reflection of something inside you that's not resolved yet, you know, like exactly. Is what it sounds like. I don't know. Probably everybody's different, but
yeah,
sometimes like
journeys. I mean, like you said, seeing everything sparkle is like, that's a perspective change. Like the world itself did not change. Your perspective of it did. So
my
it's like
creation changed.
Because you changed. Right. So it's like, I guess like, yeah, it did change, but it's because you did, you know?
But even so, it's like, okay, so my world changed. And that doesn't guarantee that anybody else's world did.
Right.
Everybody else can still live in whatever world they want, and I'm over here. And then you have like, you know, okay, so I'm over here from inside my world, kind of like where our worlds are colliding, and here we're sharing this space in between our worlds. And then people coming in and like watching the video, they get to step into this world. And they get to spend time in here. So like we get to pop in and out of other people's worlds all day, every day. Like every single teacher, every single relationship, we're entering their world, and you either like it in there or you don't.
Right.
And it's like, spend time there or don't. Like get what you can get from inside their space, and like do what you can do that feels good and feels like you're being called into their space. But you don't like, it is still your creation. Like you don't have to hang around in places that don't feel good.
Right.
Like unless there's something there for your soul. And when we feel stuck, I feel like there's something there for our soul. And that's why we feel like we can't leave yet, because there's something in there that is working itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. Like with his philosophy, it's like, first and foremost, do what you feel like doing. Like that's how he says to like live every day, is literally wake up, and he says like, wait to see what gets dropped into your hologram by your expanded self. Like what's coming today, because everything's already planned out. So there's nothing you need to plan. There's nothing you need to proactively do. You just get to experience it, because guess what? You already did all of that work and now you're just here experiencing it. So stop trying to control everything and just wake up, wait and see what gets dropped into your hologram, and respond to it, whatever feels right. If it brings discomfort, if it arises discomfort within you, then he says, that's when he says, apply the process of like, remind yourself that I am the power and presence of God. This is not real. I created this. And in fact, this is a really amazing situation because I get to reclaim my power. Like I get to reclaim a little bit of my power from this. And that's that's the big thing to appreciate. Like, you know, it makes it easier to appreciate things that does stir up discomfort inside of us, because we get to see it as this opportunity to reclaim our power, you know. And like there's some really big things that seem really bad in this world that like I can't even fully speak to, because it's hard to wrap your head around like such horrible things, like I don't know, like the war going on and stuff like that being not real, and being like, oh, I created that. But you know, if it does bring discomfort, like apply that process and try to see like how much of your power you can reclaim from that, because you know, everything that's happening is meant to be happening, and you created it. So, you know, it's like take that power back.
Right.
And that's
contrast is how we do that. Like you have to bump up against the little seed of your power that you left out there so that you can reclaim it. And there's such a difference because like us here, like we each are creating our awareness of the war, like our relationship with the war. We each have our own relationship. Every single individual person on the planet has their own relationship with what's happening in Ukraine right now. And again, we each get to move in and out of everybody else's worlds and pick up what you can pick up and learn what you can learn. And I mean, I feel like that, even though it's happening in Ukraine, so many of us have like expansion that we can take advantage of from the suffering that war is generating. But at the same time, like the Ukrainian people are reclaiming their power in a big way. Pretty much the whole world is reclaiming their power in a big way. Like, how long have we been terrified of Russia? And like, we're getting to see that, wow, okay, so maybe our terror doesn't quite match up to like what they're actually capable of. Yeah. So like that disillusionment is happening for so many people. And like, right, we don't know through the course of time, like how all of this is actually going to unfold to serve the highest good. But like every single soul involved wrote their own script. Right. I genuinely believe that, like through any war ever, like the people who are the casualties, like that was their script. And who says they're not coming right back to be, you know, the children born on the heels of the war who rebuild the country afterwards? Like they can be right back. I mean, what is death? I mean, when you really get into it, is it real? What is death? Like, what are we really scared of? Because like, when you really get into like, when you pass, when your physical vessel expires, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's only transformed into non-physical energy. And now you're back in the soup that is the all. Like, you're still there, like you still exist, and then you come back and you get yourself a new vessel. Or when you listen to Dolores Cannon's books, like she's talking about other beings where they've figured out how to like basically put a vessel on life support and take their consciousness out of it so that their consciousness can go have like a human life. And then when they're done with their human life, their consciousness goes back to the vessel that was on life support and re-enters that vessel and continues its life. Like regressing a human who is like she's like, where are you going when you die or whatever? And like, oh, but I'm going to go back to the ship because that's where my body is. But your body's here. No, that's my human body. This is my other body. Yeah. Like you might be in a nap, like a giant nap. This like his like Men in Black. Like, is this a dream? Is this just happening inside a locker at a subway station for aliens? Like, you know, like, yeah.
Like on that, the Matrix. Like, he calls this whole thing, he's like, your life is the Truman Show and you live in the Matrix. Get it straight. Like, that's the truth. Literally.
The Matrix was a documentary. Like, that's they don't want you to know about that, but they had to like dramatize it so that, you know, they could actually publish
majorly
it.
Dramatize.
They're telling you that this is how it works. And I believe that, like, we are plugged in to a simulation. This Earth school is a simulation.
We created, right? And it's like a simulation. It's not like you're some powerless, like you had no control. And no, like you, not only did you choose to be here, but you like created this world because you're God. Yeah. You know, like you created it. And what I also, you know, like my own reflections on reading this book and like absorbing this material is like, okay, he's implying that then there are other amusement parks besides Earth, right? Like, this is not the only amusement park then. You're telling me that there are other worlds, there are other universes. That, the same God that created this world, you created those ones too. But, okay, so we're implying that there are other amusement parks. So, like, there's aliens, right? And we're implying that just because you've had one avatar, like an avatar, whatever, on this... in this hologram, like, doesn't mean you haven't done it before. So reincarnation, like, that's what we call it, like, from our perspective. But I mean, that would just be like for example, there's this one game that I like to play. It's called Stardew Valley. And it's like a game where you're a farmer, which is funny because if you watch
Farmer John.
Heart, yeah, I talk about doing a past life regression to a life where I was a farmer. So obviously I like playing the farmer game, like whether it's the real simulation or if it's like Stardew Valley, my little game that I play on my Nintendo Switch. But you know, like, what's my point? Oh yeah, that I've, you know, when I've played that game before, right? Like you play the game, you go to a certain point, you kind of reach a natural end. I decided to start a new file. I'm going to start a new file and I'm going to start over and I'm going to be a slightly different avatar, but I'm going to play the same game. But now me, the expanded self, the real version of this little farmer, that's the little character, I know now better than the first time. I know exactly how to start, what to do, because I've already played the game and I've already learned from a lot of mistakes. So in this next time I play and I'm going to start this new file, it's going to be way more efficient than the first one because I have learned a lot of lessons already and I know how to play the game better than I did before. And like, I think that's very true of like, you know, I don't know how it factors into like remembering past lives and stuff. Like we have the whole like tabula rasa concept of like the clean slate when we're born. And bringing it back to like Ainsley MacLeod, you know, he says like, if you think babies are a clean slate, you've obviously never met one. It's like what he says. But that's because like, yes, we have the clean slate of like your conscious memory being wiped, but there are some things deeper down because they are connected to your expanded self that you can tap into it. It's there. And he even in the book, he's even like, the subconscious mind is not real. And it's like, okay, well, that's because you think that everything is not real. Like, technically, nothing is real. We get it. It's like getting to a point of frustration with this guy. I was like, everything's fake. Okay, I get it. Stop.
Received. Enough of this.
But obviously, there's this discomfort rising in me of like attachment to things that make me feel anchored, you know, that make me feel safe and secure. And so by releasing a little bit of that discomfort and reclaiming a little bit of my own power from that, I can see like being attached to things like that only serves to limit me from being like the infinitely abundant creator being that I am, that we all are. Oh, it's been a lot to digest.
It sounds like it.